Stinky feet. Stinky feet, and that ain't right. You better rinse them, honey. Wash them off, you're getting ripe. Tonight. That's you, Pika. You better see a doctor about that. You can put those feet right near me. Ah! This show's gonna start somehow. Why not with the dumbest jokes possible? Hey there, everybody! How are you? Welcome back once again. It is time for the Comics Coffee Table. Pull up a chair, grab a cuppa, whatever it is you're shoving under your nose today there, Pally. Sorry. Oh, I would... It's just one of the... I listened to too much Dr. Demento as a kid. It had these parody songs of popular songs that just replaced the lyrics with absolute foolishness. My mother was right. That's gonna warp your mind. She was right. Thanks, Ma. Pull up a chair. Grab a cup or whatever it is you're shoving under your nose today, pal. Leave the real world's problems over there just for a few minutes in your busy day. And come hang out with us and talk about comic books. It's New Release Sunday. That's right, where we review new releases. I had an honest question come in through the comment section saying, why don't you show the covers when you're talking about the comic books? That's a good question. I never have. It's something I've been thinking of, and I really don't use StreamYards. I don't do live streams from my channel. I like showing up to other people's live streams, but I've never done a live stream from my own station. And I do have Streamlabs, like the free version everyone has. I just never used it, and that's so that's going to be maybe the next evolution of my production here. Yes. Read the show notes that you make. Yes. Welcome to the Comic Coffee Table. And the coffee table was always where my friends and I would hang out, catch up, shoot the breeze, and share some beverage, whether it's a cup of coffee in the morning or afternoon, or an adult beverage in the evening. There would always be a stack of books. There would always be a stack of movies. I only got one right here today. There would be a stack of music. There would be a stack of video games. Yeah. Woo! Yeah! And there would always be a stack of comic books. Like this! Look! Whoa! We got actual physical comic book copies. Yes, we do. What's in the bag? That's right. What's in the bag? We'll find out. I went to the comic book shop this week. It's been... I skipped 2 weeks because nothing out there really grabbed my interest. But we've had plenty to talk about. A buddy of the show, a buddy of mine, has been sharing with me their digital comics. And it's been fun to pirate the high seas, to sail the high seas, and to not pay for comics that do not deserve my money. But let's see. We've got a bunch of comics to review this week, to be honest. Not only this bag of funny books that we bought. There are 17 Marvel comics that I read new this week. There are 11 new DC comics that I read this week, in addition to whatever is living in this bag. That's right. So yeah, hopefully we'll get around to, sharing art. It's more of like I'm more comfy doing we like to say that the show possesses a lo-fi charm. That it's like unfiltered, unscripted, unedited. And it's pretty much true. And it's been one of, I've only started recently making thumbnails for the show, and sometimes the clickbaity ones really work. I'll tell you that much. And yeah, I got 930 views on my first Rachel Zegler video. I got 550 odd views for my second Rachel Zegler video. And yes, and the thing is to make clickbaity titles. But the content itself was pretty benign. It's actually, I take it easy on the kid because she is a kid, and I'm not into, to hating people. I am into asking questions. I don't have, as we like to say on the show a lot of the times, I don't have many answers, but I do have a lot of questions. I do. And I just think Rachel Zegler is hey, she's young, and she's stardom at 17, man. Geez, what would you do? Where would your head be? I think it probably would have gone to my head. Yeah. Indeed. Good luck, kid. You know what I mean? Stick with it. Let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah, the local comic book shop. Yeah, that's one of the most important messages and missions of our show, is to get back to our local comic book shops and spending money there at the brick and mortar mom and pop shops. I get my supplies there as well. I get boxes and boards and bags there. I don't buy those from my online supply chain or from a big box store. No, I spend my money at the local comic book shop where it matters the most. It's getting harder and harder for me to buy comic books every week because the art is just so subpar. It's not worth the money. It's not worth the physical space. I don't want to spend $4.99 for a comic book on something I'll never read again. So I'm really grateful to my buddy that is sharing the digital copies, because I'm going back and buying the ones that really matter to me, and I can, I'm getting very picky, on what I'm spending my money, attention, and limited physical space for. Seriously, and but it's okay, I've had several breaks from comics over this lifetime. I've been a lifetime comic book fan. Seriously, I've been around half a century, and the majority of that time, there's been a funny book under this very nose, in front of these very eyes, and these very hands. And you might have a similar story, and I hope you do. Share it in the comments section. Or I hope you're able to catch the live, the premiere. There's always a hoppin' live chat going on with a great bunch of cats, and it's and come and enjoy the conversation. It's like, it's always a good time, and it's always pretty benign. And sometimes I'm a hot rocket. Sometimes I can get riled up about stuff. Anybody can. But I don't like ripping people down. I do really have a problem with comic book creators who proactively block people on social media because of adjacency and ideological differences, because I think that's unfair. And yes, I have hurt feelings. Why should I? Seriously, Perch has given me, if you know Comics by Perch, he's given me some perspective. And he was like, look, this is what Dan Slott is tweeting. What are you missing? I know a lot of you out there are blocked by Dan Slott. This is what he's tweeting. What are you missing? That's my best Perch voice. And he's right, though. What am I missing? But what I am not going to do is buy comic books. Give money. Give patronage to those who have blocked me on Twitter. Sorry. The only one that's blocked me on Twitter that I've deserved it was Tom King. And I respect that. The other ones, I do not respect that. I respect their humanity, but I don't respect that choice. I find it disparaging the product. Hey, why not? But we've already covered that here and there. Let's get into it. Let's do Marvel Comics first, because that's the way I like to roll here. How do we like to roll? You roll from the inside out, man. And we're going to go down the list alphabetically. I read 17 Marvel magazines this week. I read 11 DC comics this week. And I got a couple more that I bought at the Funny Book Bodega. The ubiquitous brown paper bag of new comic books. Here we go. Amazing Spider-Man number 32, written by Zeb Wells, art by Patrick Gleason. Starting off a new arc after the much ballyhooed wedding of Tombstone's daughter and Randy Robinson, and going forward from here, and it's Kraven the Hunter with the Goblin Queen, and what they need to do is put the spirit of the Green Goblin back into Norman Osborn. But things go wonky. And I really liked it. I mean, I really liked the story, the art, the pacing, and I'm really looking forward to the next issue in a way. Because Peter Parker is now Norman Osborn's friend and looks out for him. And Peter puts himself in the way of... See, Kraven's got this goblin spear, and he's put the spirit of the Green Goblin into the spearhead. And he's about to stab Norman Osborn with it to bring back the Green Goblin. But Peter puts his body in the way, and he gets stabbed by the spear. So now that goblin, that evil goblin energy is in Peter Parker. And spoilers, yeah, so what? The preview cover for Spider-Man 33 shows Spider-Man in the classic black costume hunting Kraven, which is a kind of it's a reversal of that famous 1987 Spider-Man crossover between Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man, the 6-parter Kraven's Last Hunt. Hello. And now so Spidey is in black hunting Kraven. I'm liking that. I want to see where this goes. And Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man run has had its criticisms and its outrages. But me and personally, I've kind of liked what I've seen so far. My limited I don't have the emotional investiture that these ASM lifers have, and they're pretty put off by this. And but I didn't mind Spider-Man 26. I didn't mind Kamala Khan's role in that. I didn't. So I mean I don't have that luggage to weigh me down. So but therefore, I'm just liking what I'm seeing, and that's about it. Black Panther number 3. Legacy number 215. This was written by Eve Ewing, and it's actually got a penciler and an inker. It's Chris Allen and Mark Chater are the pencilers, and it's Craig Yuen and Mark Chater are the inkers. And you know how I feel about art that goes right from a digital line art to a digital colorist, cutting out the inker, cutting out a paying job for an artist. You can really feel it and see it. It's got a visual tactility to it that I'm really happy with. And also, most comics these days are written for the trade. That means, usually a 6-issue, it could be 5, could be 7, 8. But it's written for that let's call it 6-issue arc. So this is issue 3 of an ongoing story. I'm a big believer that every comic book could be the first comic book for any new reader. And this is true even after all these years, in my case, with this particular comic book, Black Panther number 3. I really liked it. I liked the story. It was very accessible. It caught you up quick. And it was a good superhero story. And the classic T'Challa voice that I'm used to. And it updates you on his circumstances, where he is, what he's doing, and how he's doing it and with whom. And this is a well-hewn product. This is pretty good. I liked it a lot. And here's a good one too. This is called Captain America Finale. It's an issue 1. It's just a standalone issue. It goes for $4.99. 35 pages of mostly 35 pages of art. It's Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly are the writers. Carmen Canero is the artist, and it goes straight to the color artist, Nolan Woodward. And then, just digital lettering. So I remember the ballyhoo when this arc started. I remember the outrage in my YouTube sphere about the direction of the characters. And so we have Bucky Barnes, the former Winter Soldier. He has put himself in a position where he took a heel turn You know what a heel turn means? It's a wrestling term meaning that a face or a baby face, or a quote-unquote good guy, makes a decision, a conscious decision, and to turn face. And to turn heel, rather. A heel is the bad guy. You have heels versus baby faces. And that's a wrestling kayfabe term. So Bucky Barnes apparently turns heel. And he puts himself in the position where he is part of this thing called the Outer Circle, which is secretly running stuff somewhere. See, I'm not really into, I might be into Captain America, but I'm really not reading the book, because it's all over the place. But what I do remember is that there was a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of outrage over Bucky Barnes' apparent heel turn. But guess what? He was a fake. He was a fake out. He smuggled himself in for the sheer part of infiltrating this criminal organization. And so by the end of it, it's all good. And I didn't mind the story. This Captain America finale is the wrap-up of that arc. And there will be a brand new issue number 1 of Captain America, written by J. Michael Straczynski, coming out soon, with Steve Rogers, the original Captain America, as its protagonist. And there it goes. And it will go on. I might get it, I might not. I don't know. I like J. Michael Straczynski's work overall. So, let's see. We could, yeah, exactly. But this is a good example of when we have outrage over the beginning of a story and we fail to appreciate setup to payoff, which is probably one of the most classical story mechanisms. You have setups in the beginning of the story, Act 1 and Act 2. Chekhov's gun. You pull that gun out in Act 1, it better go off in Act 3. And that is setup to payoff. So are we denying ourselves the payoff by jumping to outrage too soon? I see it everywhere in our spheres of my YouTube spheres, and it's like maybe I'm old enough now and mature enough to be like, why don't we wait until this is complete, and then we can properly judge it, and then see what happens to your outrage if you're satisfied with the conclusion. What happens to that outrage? Do you just go like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Oh, yeah, but, just like, I want to free myself of this negative emotion. And I'm glad I didn't, I acknowledged this, when it came out. Oh, well, just, there goes Bucky turning heel. Well, it's probably just a setup to a payoff. And it is, and it was, and it's all good, and it was a decent story. I enjoyed it. And because I'm coming into most of these Marvel comics cold, So there's Daredevil Echo number 4, which wraps up a trade paperback, that, hey, you got to release it in a periodical serialized format for why? Because it's a comic book, and that's why. And there is no why. There's just comics. Well, you could have just released it as a trade paperback as well. Delicious art by Phil Noto, of whom I really like usually, but I didn't read the beginnings of it, so it was kind of lost on me. There's Deadpool number 10 by Alyssa Wong. I'm sorry, but it was just, it's just not made for me, and it's part of the Fall of X titles. It's Deadpool doing Deadpool-y things, and like I said at the beginning of the show, I hold grudges against creators who have proactively blocked me on social media like X Twitter, and because I'm adjacent to the wrong fans, I'm adjacent to the wrong creators, and I just think but it's good to know that too, that it evokes that emotion in me. It means I still have work to do. And not to kiss ass with this. It's for me to, hey, you still have hate in your heart. It's so easy to bring up this hate in your heart with these people. we've unfairly just judged you. I mean, how am I supposed to spend? Look, there's Deadpool issue number 10, and that's not the only. There's another issue. There's a Star Wars issue in here somewhere too. How am I supposed to spend my $3.99 on Deadpool number 10 with Alyssa Wong, blocking me like that? I'm not a sucker. I'm a comic book fan. I want to spend my money on comic books. I would like to spend my money and give a chance to her. Why not? But am I going to? I'd be fucking stupid if I spent my money with her. Seriously. Disparaging the product. You've disparaged you've disparaged Marvel's product. Thank you. I mean, seriously. Yeah, it wasn't that well written either. And that's just my opinion. That has nothing to do with my feelings. I mean, last week I was given good words to Spider-Man 11 by Dan Slott. You, Dan Slott, your face. Did you see? But it's good to see that it's still in there. Hey, let go of that hate. Let go of that anger. There's Fantastic Four, Contest of Chaos. It's actually kind of entertaining to be tuned into this because it's a Marvel event annual. It's $4.99, 31 pages, which just kind of sucks because, well, if most comics are basically 20 pages of art and story, you're going to be getting about 26 or 28 pages of art and story for this one. So you are getting about, say, 6 to 8 more pages of art and story. But usually annuals were just, it had more going on. But this is a Fantastic Four annual. It's about basically a long fight between Johnny Storm and the Human Torch and Ghost Rider, and it's the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider as well. And it's just oh god, I'm looking at this right now. Just the digital stuff, the digital onomatopoeia, the digital blur effects, the digital coloring, and this is the best that you can do for $5. No, it's not. It's all corner cutting. Here's a good one. Immortal Thor #1, written by Al Ewing, and some pretty decent art even for this digital crap. And I mean, the lettering is the lettering, but it's it's in that Asgardian lettering that's supposed to convey the heroic tone of voice of the Asgardians. And it's written by Al Ewing, and I'm trying to scroll down to the artist combo, but it's 48 pages long, and it has a cover price of $6.99. And so it's extra thick and extra big, and it's a good jump on spot for a new reader. It really is. It brings in a new story. It's kind of like the reverse Asgard is coming to roost. So you have like the reverse Thor and a reverse Loki. So you have it's kind of like a mirror universe, and that's where they're going with this. And but it's completely passable. A pretty decent superhero story, and yeah, Martin Coccolo is the artist. Goes right to a digital color artist, and but it's got a really nice Alex Ross cover. See here, that's the rub. The big two will spend money on cover artists, but pay their cutthroat rates for their interior art, and usually exporting their art, outsourcing it, as we like to say. So domestic artists can't make a living wage by plying their trade because of this. Hey, they are corporate entities. They are looking at their bottom line, and they have to make money any way they can. I mean, hey, I heard Disney, just like Disney World parks, just stopped giving out straws and plastic lids for their cups. I hear birds. Cheap, 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 cheap. He writes my jokes. I mean, take it up with him. I'm just the talent. We're not on a talent or a writer's strike here. We keep producing. We probably intend to get blackballed by Hollywood any second now. There's the Invincible Iron Man #9 by Jerry Duggan. This is going to cross over with the X-Men titles because there's going to be some the marriage of Tony Stark and Emma Frost. So it's art by Juan Frigeri, goes right to a digital colorist, and right to a letterer. But Tony Stark got his Stark Unlimited has a new owner, the mutant-hating industrialist Fei Long, and he has used his new acquisition to produce mutant hunting sentinels with Iron Man technology. Tony Stark tried to stop these Stark Sentinels from going into production, but Fei Long is throwing obstacles in his path by framing his best friend Rhodey, aka War Machine, for murder and issuing a cease and desist order to our hero, claiming ownership of the Iron Man technology. Simultaneously, Fei Long and the anti-mutant think tank Orcus have turned humanity against the mutants and attacked Krakoa, forcing the X-Men to flee Earth. But one of the few to remain was Emma Frost, who was targeted by the Stark Sentinels. Tony managed to help her escape. Now he's left defenseless at Fei Long's mercy. This is actually a pretty good issue, standalone. Walking into this cold, it's just an ongoing part, and Jerry Duggan is also writing the X-Men, the flagship X-Men title, X-Men. There's no more Uncanny X-Men. There's just X-Men, and then there's all the brother and sister titles that spin off from there. So Jerry Duggan right now is a big wheel at the Marvel Cracker Factory here, and especially in the X office. So this is pretty good. I really enjoy all digital art and all bisexual lighting involved. It's stark, beaten, bruised, bloody, and down on his luck too. And it's him and Emma Frost against the world. And it's pretty cool. I actually really enjoyed it. The cover's really nice, too, because it's showcasing the new gray-black armor with the green eyes, the green repulsors, and green arc generator. I really loved this design of this Iron Man armor. And, I enjoyed the heck out of that one. Sure. Why not? And it's even better because it was free. And I didn't have to pay for it. And I don't have to put up... See, I'm a little bit more forgiving of all the digital BS, reading it digitally. And, I guess, free makes it really bit more acceptable. For 35 pages here, following in the fall of X, issue #1, Jean Grey. One of the original X-Men. And this is written by Louise Simonson. And this is focusing on Jean Grey. And it's about... Jeannie dies in the Hellfire Gala. So, this is a limited series. And, but it's, written by Louise Simonson, art by Bernard Chang, goes right to a color artist. And, but here's the rub. Louise Simonson, back when she was Louise Jones, in the early 1980s, was the editor for Uncanny X-Men for a few years. And then she went on, she married Walter Simonson, who she met at the office. And they went on to do X Factor. Louise Simonson knows the voice of these characters. So it's great to see that she's getting work, that she's writing characters that she knows very well. And it's okay. I mean, this issue's kind of like all over the place. And it's Jeannie dying, but the whole thing of Phoenix is she comes back from the dead all the time. And with the Krakoan age, they have resurrection protocols. So, I mean, they're all coming back. You can't take comic book death too seriously, especially during the Krakoan age of the X-Men. Don't do it. Don't take any comic book death seriously. I mean, look at Kamala Khan. I mean, just why even bother with the funeral for a friend standalone issue when, she came right back? Whoop-de-doo. I mean, that's, But hey, I mean, it is what it is. But this one is like it's showing a more sinister side of Jeannie, but all the characters keep their voices, and it's just pretty good. I really like it, but I'm glad I didn't pay for it. Here's one that I really liked. It's called Marvel Unleashed #1, 34 pages, $4.99, and it's written by Kyle Starks, artist by Jesus Rivas, and it goes right to a color artist. But this is about like the super pets, and it's pretty cute. It's fun. That's what I said. This was a fun comic book, and yeah, you have super pets. That's it. And they're trying to find Lockjaw, who is the Eternals dog. He's got that tuning fork on his forehead, and he's a pug, or a bulldog, and he creates portals. He's been around since the Silver Age. You've probably seen him. He's an extra large dog, but all I can say is this was a fun book, and I'm glad I checked it out. There's Moon Knight, City of the Dead #2. This had a letterer. I mean, not a letterer. This had a penciler and an inker. Marcelo Ferreira did the pencils. Jay Leiston did the inks. And it looks it. You got cross hatching. You got some depth. It's got a visual tactility to it that, digital filters just don't provide. It's something just ingrained in me after half a century of reading comic books, that you know what one looks like. There's a place for Ben Day dots, of course. That's how you used to color pages. I mean, things don't look like that anymore. There is a place for Zipatone. It was used sparingly because it was a limited resource, and you did it to differentiate, to give it just a little bit of a break between hatchings and cross hatchings. But the liberal use of it now, it's done to look comic booky, because nothing looks more comic booky than those little dots everywhere. But this does have, the art in this is pretty good. And like I said, walking into this cold, and it was okay. I mean, yeah. No, I got no complaints besides basically the cut and paste, drop and drag onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a word that's spelled the way it sounds. It's a sound effect in a comic book. Splat, snicked, thwip, pow. Planet of the Apes #5. This was a $4.99 book with 24 pages. That means it's only 20 pages. Well, actually, there's no John Romita tribute in here. So we got 2 pages spent on credits, and this is the last issue of the Planet of the Apes. I hadn't read any other ones, and this is a passable, decent story. Yeah. And that's about it. I'm a big fan of the original Planet of the Apes, and of the movies. And when I was a kid, they had the TV show as well, too. Planet of the Apes was one of the first instances where you had, besides like the Hammer horror movies, but you had a dynamic new idea and property, and then it got sequels. And it wasn't meant to have sequels. You threw sequels in there just to perpetuate the success of this new thing called the franchise. So was Jaws supposed to have sequels? Heck no. Did we get Jaws sequels? Heck yes. And but what came before Jaws that set this all up was Planet of the Apes. This is huge. Planet of the Apes 1 came out in 1968. It had Charlton Heston. He was one of the biggest actors of his day. It was really, and based upon a really interesting sci-fi book. I read that just this past year for the first time. That was really good. I did not like the Marky Mark Tim Burton remake with Helena Bonham Carter from 20 years ago. It just missed the mark for me. And so what universe is this set in? I don't know, but it was okay, and I'm here to read comics. Yeah, we had Realm of X #1, written by Torrin Grunbeck, and it's just this is comic books made for girls. That's nothing wrong with that. It's Torrin Grunbeck, the writer. Diogenes Nieves is the artist, and Rain Barreto is the color artist. And it's The Violence of Victory, and it's Magic, Eliana Rasputin, Mirage, Typhoid Mary, Dust, Marrow, and Curse. So it's 6 ladies, written by a lady, and it wasn't made for me, so I'm not going to bash it. It's just more of like, it's, yeah, this fallout from the Orcus raid at the Hellfire Gala. And that's about it. Yeah. That's Realm of X. There's Storm #4. This was written by Annie Nocenti. So who took over Uncanny X-Men in the mid-'80s as the editor, the group editor, after Louise Jones Simonson? Annie Nocenti. Who knows these character voices better than Annie Nocenti? So this one's set in past continuity. I got the first 2 issues, and I'm not biting anymore. But for me, as a lifelong X-Men fan, it was good to see the X-Men back, in the mansion and with the Danger Room, and to have familiar voices, which is great for me. So yeah, so I don't know. It's not bad. I mean, the art in this is better than the first couple of issues. They've changed artists, but yeah, I didn't. It's a limited series. It's written for the trade. I mean, and it's giving the illusion of a limited series when you could just release this in trade format in the first place. And then my second unfortunate comic with Alyssa Wong is Dark Droids again. And it's Star Wars, Dr. Aphra. And Dr. Aphra is some kind of archaeologist, I guess, or Darth Vader's personal physician, and I'm not too versed on that. It's $4.99 for a 23-page comic book, where you're gonna lose a couple of these pages you lose a page on the credits here. So yeah, it's basically 22 pages for $5. That's where it's going, and it's nothing but. This is made for girls and alphabet people. It's not made for me, and I read it, and it's not made for me, and I'm fine with that. So yeah, if I had good things to say, I'd say it. Seriously, I mean, geez, but it's full of, that's all I'm gonna leave it there. It's not made for me. It's made for girls and alphabet people. I guess it's all the characters, in it. There's Venom 24. That was interesting. Written by Al Ewing. Sergio Davila is a penciler, and it goes to an inker, Sean Parsons. So that's, and it's got a Brian Hitch cover too. So there's some quality here, but it's basically a lot of it's Eddie Brock going to Laturvia to confront Doctor Doom, and then they fight. And sure, so yeah, it's 27 pages, and you wait 1, 2, 3. So you lose 3 pages on the John Romita tribute, basically. But yeah, I definitely love seeing more and more pencilers and inkers. That's great. And to finish up the Marvel comics, we got X-Force number 43, written by Benjamin Percy, and this is about. Oh, here we go. Oh, geez. More bisexual lighting, and more crappy digital effects everywhere, but this is Colossus's X-Force team, and dealing with the fallout from the fall of X. There we go, and that's it for Marvel Comics this week. Thank you. DC Comics this week. All right, there were 11. Most of them were pretty bad. There was Batman Beyond, Neo Gothic. You know, it's interesting. It's issue 2 of a limited series. There's Batman: The Adventure Continues, season 3, which is basically it's Batman the Animated Series. This is written by Paul Dini and Ty Templeton, and it's got Alan Burnett and Paul Dini, and it's got art by Ty Templeton, who's been doing the Batman the Animated Series comic books for a long time now, and and it's got and Norm Rapmund on inks. I mean, you got Ty Templeton with Norm Rapmund and Jacob Edgar. These are some. It's bringing in the Court of Owls into Batman TAS, and it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it for what it was. And then we have DC Dark Knights of Steel 12 of 12, written by Tom Taylor, and it's set on an alternate multiverse Earth where it's ripping off some previously established, especially the Grant Morrison JLA of the turn of the century of the White Martians. There are Green Martians and White Martians, and the White Martians are evil, and they try to take over the Earth. Well, here on this Earth, they're up to their usual shenanigans with their multiverse doppelgangers, but it's set in kind of a medieval time, sword and sorcery, and yeah. So I read that. Oh God, this was awful. This was DC Ruby, WRBY, which is, I guess, one of these successful animes. This is made for girls, not made for me. I thought the art was terrible, and the story was kind of blah. And yeah, I mean, at least, in Night Terrors, you can, at least say that the art was going for an aesthetic of nightmarish. Now this, probably has some kind of nightmare quality to it, because everything after the resolution at the end, everything's a nice new bright new day, and yeah, it wasn't made for me. There's this digital only Superman versus Meshi number 4, and it's manga, so it's black and white art, and it's just basically Superman and Batman getting lunch. And Batman taking Superman to the best Japanese restaurant in Gotham, and Superman going, no, we're going to hop on. We're going to Japan. And he goes all the way to Japan to get some of the best food ever. And I'm a chef, so I don't mind cooking stuff, but it's just basic. It's like, if you were shipping them, that would have been a date. But then no, they're two best friends just getting lunch as well. There's room for that. But that's all that happens. There's nothing going on. It's cute. It's manga. And, it was an interesting experience. Here we go. Tom King. Yeah, I earned your block. I respect that. I don't like your writing. But I read Penguin number 1 from Tom King and Company. And it's usual Tom King, a 9-panel grid, and you're with a person's just talking, and it basically barely moves in the 9 panels. And it's about Oswald Cobblepot trying to get his life back together after this or that. Things will lead into the upcoming Gotham War, I guess. There's another war for Gotham coming up. It was the City of Bane. It was in the War of Jokes and Riddles. If it wasn't Failsafe, another war. Now it's going to be Catwoman versus Batman. All right. Sure, whatever. There's Dawn of DC Night Terrors #4, which is kind of wrapping up the Night Terrors mini event of the summer. It will next week with the Night Terrors Omega issue, because this is not a proper final issue. But the whole thing is, I'm seeing a lot of violence against children in comic books, and I don't like it. Now, I don't get political on this show, so I don't, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Because I've noticed this over on Marvel when it came to the Wolverine Ghost Rider's Weapon of Vengeance, and when it came to the Death of the Venomverse, and now with Night Terrors #4. Because comic books are definitely not made for kids. But as an adult, seeing children being the collateral damage of the wake of this of these superhero stories, I mean, it's just, I'm not into. And because I need to examine my own feelings about this. You can say that, the comic books are dominated by left-thinking people. And, do they value children as much as conservative and right-thinking people? Yet, here's the counter to that. In Secret Wars 2, way back in the Jim Shooter days, in the 80s at Marvel, this is terrible. It's a spoiler, but it's a 40-year-old spoiler. It doesn't count. The Beyonder came to Earth. And so Reed Richards, to save the Earth, did this. Convinced the Beyonder, what you really need to do is go back to, instead of like trying to live life as a human now, you can only get proper, this is a paraphrase kind of thing. You can only get a proper appreciation for the human species if you became a baby and then had a full life, instead of coming to humanity already as an adult with all you need to experience growing up. And the Beyonder believes him and becomes an infant. And Reed Richards kills the infant. And we're talking the Jim Shooter days. Okay? So I'm trying to... It's so hard to not have a political and cultural bias lens, especially with the way that comic books are written these days, whether it's like, the identity politics, the bisexual lighting that's everywhere. Or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I don't like seeing bad things happen to kids, in any fiction. Seriously, Night Terrors Action Comics and Night Terrors Angel Breaker, I stopped reading because they were terrible. I mean, I've been a Power Girl fan since I was a kid, and it's just so unnecessary what they're doing to her character and for why. You can miss me with that. Night Terrors Detective Comics, it was okay. It's Jim Gordon centered, and it's about him and his nightmare and him dealing with it and his part of the story. So that was okay. But here comes the rub. And one of my favorite comics from DC my favorite comic from DC this week. It's Night Terrors Harley Quinn #2, written by Teenie Howard. And this is the majority of the first issue. And then I think Stephanie Williams writes the backup feature. Now, this is clever. We know that I hate the Ben-Day dots and Zipatone filters on a digital comic book and as a digital manipulation. You come up with something new, for fuck's sake. Please. I mean, but Harley Quinn, Night Terrors Harley Quinn, is a pastiche, a parody almost of a Silver Age comic book. So it has that Ben-Day dot look to it, and it works. It really works here, and it's Harley. It opens up with Harley looking at some Grant Morrison multiversity era source books, where she's on Earth Zero, and she is like the prime superhero of that world, of this Earth Zero. And so it's set back in the early days of the Silver Age, and it's her against Brainiac. She's got flight. She's like basically Superman, but she's got the original Harlequin costume, and she's known as the Harlequin. But then there's this one panel that I put on Twitter, and it's basically ripping off Roy Lichtenstein. Now, Roy Lichtenstein was a 1960s pop artist, popular culture artist, and he would use the Ben Day Dot comic books as his inspiration. There's actually a big to-do that he almost ripped off one of his most famous works of art that it's like I think it's at the MoMA in New York City, the Museum of Modern Art. It's called Wham, WHAAM. And it's a ripoff of All American Comics, or All American Men in Action, number 89, that was done in 1962. And it has, and it's just a fighter jet, blowing up an enemy plane. And it's almost an exact reproduction. So it comes full circle. So it's, this is Harley Quinn with this close-up on her face and two thought bubbles of the doubt. And that was a lot of Roy Lichtenstein's work, was focusing on the face of a beautiful woman and having her inner monologue or what her soliloquy speech, reflecting her emotional state while, exaggerating while in close-up. You can see the exaggeration of the Ben Day dots. The Ben Day dots were there to add coloring. That's how, when you put your eye away from the old images, it all makes sense and translates into an image. But the closer you get, the more pronounced those little dots are. We'd call them pixels today. And pixels are so small that we don't notice the dots. Also, in this story, because it's Harley, you can't have Harley without having Poison Ivy. And of course, Harley and Ivy are together in this Silver Age past. And spoiler, here somebody turned, the bad guys turned turned Poison Ivy into a salad and put her into the refrigerator. And that is a very clever girlfriend stuffed in the refrigerator reference. Very well done, very well handled, very clever. And I applaud that. Especially coming from female writers too, because it is female writers that turned that into a rally cry of the internal misogynies of comic books and superhero shit. I just want to read comic books. But I thought that was a very clever snide, reference. I picked up on that, and I'm there for that. And those are the DC comics this week. Yeah, I really appreciated Night Terrors Harley Quinn #2 by Tini Howard and Company. Way to go. That was good. What's in the bag? What's in the bag? We got new Funnybooks this week. Physical comic books. Aren't you excited? I am. Let's see what's in the bag. Well, first off, I got some back issues. I picked up Local Man 3 and 4 that I was missing because I had issues 1, 2, and 5. Issue 5 came out, I think, last month or just several weeks ago. And there's another issue coming out this week, too. This is great. It's a flip book. So this half of the book happens 30 years ago in the Image Comics past, in the classic Image Comics style. And then this part is set in the now, where the hero, many years later, has to return to his hometown, and all the pieces of this mystery are presented and unfold. And he's been kicked off of his superhero team. He has to go live with his parents in his old hometown, and everybody hates him because they all know his secret identity. And it used to be the proud hometown of Crossjack, the superhero. And now they're all like, F you! It's pretty funny. And this is one of the best superhero comic books you're probably not aware of. I learned about this comic book through my YouTube sphere. Very grateful for that. There's a new issue of this coming out this week. It's called Local Man Gold, and it looks like the Deathmate cover. Deathmate was the legendary crossover between the Valiant comics and Image Comics, and they had foil covers, and it was this ballyhooed huge thing. And I have most of the Deathmates on my spinner rack. I'm really looking forward to Local Man Gold this coming week. I really am. I picked up, came out a couple of weeks ago, but Frank Miller Presents Frank Miller's Ronin Book 2, issue number 3, written by Frank Miller, and he drew the breakdowns too. Philip Tan does the artwork. Daniel Henriquez does the inking, and it's that lettering, real lettering by John Workman. Gosh, this is so good. This is a comic book's comic book. I barely like the story, but I'm buying this because of the art and the experience of being a comic book fan. As I like to say, that back in April, I was talking with Dan DiDio, former editor-in-chief of DC Comics, and currently working for Frank Miller Presents, and he opened this comic book page by page and literally sold it to me. He's like, look, every page, a splash page, splash page, splash page. Splash page is when you have a huge double-page image like this, and just every page is a splash page. And every page is so well done. This is what it's like to be a comic book fan. This is comic book art. The panel progression, everything. The lettering, the onomatopoeia. I'm just very, very into this style. Like I said, the story is kind of, but... And next issue will be Miller's own art himself. I'm looking forward to that too. I grew up with Frank Miller, and this is like I said, yeah, the story's going to take... I wasn't a big fan of the story of the original Ronin to begin with. Back in the 80s, it was out there. It was pretty wild. But I'm here for this one, and I appreciate and I respect it. It's a comic book's comic book. It really is. And here we go. Big Game by Mark Miller. And Pepe Larraz, who's literally killing it. And there's lots of violence and bloodshed. And it's Mark Miller's 20 years in the making crossover. Going all the way back to Wanted #1. Coming full circle to this now. This is a really good comic book. And written by one of the best writers in the game, who loves comic books and who has such an appreciation for the direct market. He cares about comic book shops, and he cares about the art. He cares about floppies. He cares about the stories. And the art in this is just amazing, too. It's just, oh yeah, this is so good. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. But, and we're going to finish it off with a crowdfunded book that I got this week. This is Fiendish, Chapter 2 by Irene Stokowski, otherwise known as Reenie at Reenie Draws. And it comes with like stickers and trading cards. These are trading cards and the Dungeons and Dragons or playable card game variety too. They got like hit points and health points and all that stuff. Oh, let's look at it real quick. Whoop. Yeah. Came with some stickers. I got this on a t-shirt. You've seen that before, right? That's Ragna. She's hot. Reenie Draws hot chicks. I like that. But yeah, here are the cards. It comes with I love these because I love these. These are bubblegum cards. And look, they're playable. I mean, there's a game involved. I'm not a gamer, but gosh, don't I think I respect the hell out of this. I think that's so interesting. It's so cool. Behold. A Wraith Bomb. Yeah, huh? That's great. And it came with a couple of, poster-esque pieces of art. But I got the naked girl cover that you could only get. This is like cover B, and available for a limited time, I guess. And yeah, I like naked ladies. Like hi, and well-drawn naked ladies too. But the as much as I ballyhoo about digital art, and if you remember last week, we were talking about Narwhal's Nosferatu, and how much I appreciate his art. I appreciate Irene Strakolski's art, and she does everything on. She does the story, she does the art, and she does the lettering, and then she has Carlos Nicolas Zamudio does the colors, and the colors are just so good in this, and it's a fantasy. It's like sword and shield kind of fantasy with monsters and demons, but also it has a kind of anime quality, a manga quality to it. Look at those eyes, and look at the heroes, and she's just so detailed with the backgrounds. I mean, this is digital art done right. I mean, and this could be better than Phoenix Chapter 1. Maybe that's the point of it all. I mean, this was great. Basically $25, and this is so, like, when I say that things written for the trade, why don't they just release them as the trade? Why not? We're kind of used to this by now when it comes to the crowdfunding format. This is how big they are, and this has she made her own alphabet for her own world. She built this world. Oh, she's bottled awesome. Loving, and I like the colors a lot in this too. This is just a well done book, and it's just a well done story. And it's a really good panel progression too. I'm just really liking this. And it's a little rated R. I would say it's PG-13. And that's the new releases this week. We had 20. How many? Wow, 28 digital. I read them all. Yeah, well, except for, Night Terror's Action Comics. I only got 5 pages into that. I did read all of Angel Breaker. It was terrible. Well, and I don't want to bash on the creators. I'm not. It wasn't made for me. I'm fine with that answer. And, well, let us know in the comments section. What did you get this week? What did you like? Are you thinking you're getting your money's worth? Are you satisfied, especially with Night Terrors? Will there be lasting changes? What do you think of children being casualties in these books? Are you okay with that? I'm not. And it makes me but it's only so critical you can be. I mean, I don't know. It's not my cup of tea, and I don't approve of it. Yeah, but you have to give your villains tragedy in order to make them be motivated to be villains, right? But, well, that's all we got to say for today. Well, thank you so very much for coming to the Comics Coffee Table, the weekly Sunday new review roundup. Grab a cuppa, whatever it is you're shoving under your nose today. Pika, go wash your feet. Ah, man, it's like you cut into a wheel of Munster. I'm just sorry, just being cheesy. Oh my goodness. Oh, get a toe up on this. Oh, never mind. You have a great week. Thank you so very much. We'll see you again on Wednesday with the new release menu, new comic book day itself, and stay tuned for different content during the week, please. We've been doing gratitude lists more. We're gonna have more and more cooking videos. I'm going back. I've gone back to work, so now that my schedule is stabilizing, I'm hoping to get back into the knack of making the usual daily show, and it is kind of. I don't want to overpromise, because I feel like that the bagging and boarding show has kind of hit a rut, and I don't want to, and it does take time and effort to produce the show and to make it happen. So, hey, what do you think? Are you liking the longer Sunday show? I am. But thank you so very much. I can't be a YouTube creator without you. Seriously, and I appreciate all of you. So I hope you're having a good time, and I hope you think it's worthwhile. And I love sharing our hobby with each other. This is great. Thank you so very much. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Hit that like button. And we will see you again in those funny pages. Good luck, namaste, and God bless. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.